The stadium buzzed with energy. Fans roared, celebrating another dominant performance by Tua Tagovailoa. As he made his way toward the tunnel, high-fiving fans, signing jerseys and shaking hands, a voice cut through the noise. "Tua, I need to say something to you." The crowd turned toward the front row. Standing there was a military veteran, his posture rigid, his eyes locked on the quarterback. Security hesitated, unsure of his intent, but Tua raised a hand, signaling to let him speak. The veteran took a deep breath. No one was prepared for what he was about to say. Tua Tagovailoa had met thousands of fans. He was used to signing autographs, posing for pictures, and hearing people tell him how much they admired him. But this was different. The military veteran stood firm, his hands clenched at his sides. There was something in his voice, something deeper. Tua could see it in his eyes. This was not just another fan moment. The crowd around them grew quiet, sensing the weight of the moment. Security stepped closer, just in case, but Tua held up his hand, signaling to let the veteran speak. The veteran took a deep breath, his face unreadable. "I have watched you for years," he began. Tua nodded, listening. The veteran's voice tightened. "And I have a problem with you." A murmur spread through the crowd. Tua's expression did not change. He just waited. The veteran took another step forward. "People like you," he said, his voice steady but laced with emotion, "are given everything. You play a game, and they call you a warrior." The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Tua exhaled, listening carefully. He could see the raw emotion behind the words. "I know real warriors," the veteran continued, his voice trembling. "I have lost friends in battle. I have seen what real sacrifice looks like. And yet, people cheer for you like you are the one making a difference." The stadium fell completely silent. Some fans lowered their signs. Others stopped cheering. Everyone was listening now. Tua took in the words, not reacting, just absorbing them. He had heard criticisms of athletes before, about money, fame, privilege. But this was personal. And instead of getting defensive, instead of brushing it off or walking away, Tua did something no one expected. He stepped forward. He locked eyes with the veteran. And when he spoke, his words left the entire stadium in awe. The stadium stood still. Thousands of fans, security, and even Tua's teammates watched in silence. Tua Tagovailoa met the veteran's gaze, his expression calm but serious. He could have brushed it off. He could have walked away. But instead, he stepped forward. Security tensed, ready to intervene, but Tua held up a hand, signaling them to stand down. The veteran's chest rose and fell sharply. His words had been heavy, filled with pain. Tua nodded slowly. Then he spoke. "I hear you," he said, his voice steady, respectful. The veteran stiffened. He had expected an argument, a defense, maybe even anger. But Tua was not done. "You are right," he continued. "What I do is not sacrifice. What I do is a privilege." The veteran's brow furrowed. "I have never stepped onto a battlefield. I have never lost a brother in combat. I have never had to fight for my life while protecting the person next to me," Tua said. The crowd hung on his every word. "But I know this," he added. "I know that people like me, athletes, entertainers, we get the glory, we get the headlines. And the real heroes, the ones who fight, the ones who sacrifice everything, they do not always get the recognition they deserve." A murmur spread through the crowd. The veteran's lips parted slightly. He had not expected this. Tua took another step forward. He was standing face to face with the man now. "I will never pretend to be a warrior like you," he said. "But if people look up to me, if people listen to what I say, then I will use that to make sure the real heroes, the ones like you, get the respect they deserve." The veteran's eyes glistened. The entire stadium was locked into this moment. Then, without hesitation, Tua reached for his jersey. And what he did next? It left the veteran, the crowd, and the entire nation speechless. The stadium stood frozen. Not a single person moved as Tua Tagovailoa reached for his jersey. The military veteran watched, confused. He had come to call out Tua, to challenge him, to demand that athletes stop being called warriors. But now, Tua was about to do something no one expected. With a calm, steady hand, Tua pulled a marker from his wristband. Without breaking eye contact, he signed his jersey right there on the spot. Then, he removed it, folded it neatly, and stepped closer to the veteran. The crowd gasped. Tua held out the jersey, placing it directly in the veteran's hands. "This is not for you to admire," Tua said, his voice full of sincerity. The veteran blinked, gripping the jersey tightly. "What?" he muttered, his voice shaking. Tua took a deep breath. "This is for you to sell, to donate, to give back, to help a veteran in need, because you are the real hero here." The moment hit the stadium like a tidal wave. The crowd erupted. Some people jumped to their feet. Others clapped wildly. Even those who had stayed quiet felt their eyes sting with emotion. The veteran stared at the jersey in his hands. His fingers trembled. His breathing was unsteady. He had expected a fight. He had expected defensiveness. Instead, he had been met with humility, respect, and a moment of pure class. Tua patted the veteran on the shoulder. "I do not deserve to be called a warrior," he said. "But if I can use my platform to help the real ones, then I will do it every time." The veteran's chest rose sharply. He slowly looked up at Tua, his lips quivering, his eyes filled with emotion. The stadium kept cheering, but in that moment, it was just the two of them. And when the veteran finally spoke, his words made the entire stadium go silent. The military veteran stood frozen, staring down at the signed jersey in his hands. His fingers trembled slightly. His chest rose and fell in slow, uneven breaths. For the first time since he had stepped forward, he had no words. Tua Tagovailoa stood calmly in front of him, waiting. The veteran's lips quivered as he gripped the jersey tighter. Finally, he looked up. "I came here to call you out," he admitted, his voice raw. "But I was wrong." The stadium fell silent again. "I thought you would get defensive. I thought you would try to justify why people put athletes on pedestals," the veteran continued. "But instead, you did something I never expected." He paused, his throat tightening. "You showed me that true strength is not just about battle. It is about humility." The veteran took a shaky breath, then reached out. Tua grasped his hand firmly, shaking it with respect. The crowd exploded. Fans stood on their feet, clapping, cheering, some even wiping tears. The veteran took another deep breath, his emotions overwhelming him. He looked at the jersey in his hands, then back at Tua. "I will take this," he said, "and I will make sure it helps those who truly need it." Tua nodded. "That is what it is for." The veteran stiffened his posture, then saluted. Tua did not hesitate. He raised his hand and saluted back. The entire stadium erupted again. It was not just a moment. It was a statement. This was not about football anymore. This was about respect. The veteran stepped back, still clutching the jersey. As he did, fans in the front row reached out, patting him on the shoulder, thanking him for his service. And at that moment, he realized something. He had walked into this stadium questioning the value of an athlete. Now, he was walking out with a new understanding of what leadership truly meant. And the rest of the nation? They were about to see this moment for themselves. The moment spread like wildfire. Within hours, videos flooded social media. Fans in the stadium had caught everything on their phones. Clips of Tua Tagovailoa's powerful response, the veteran's emotional reaction, and their final handshake took over Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. The headlines were everywhere. Tua Tagovailoa just gave the most respectful response to a veteran. Watch what he did. NFL star humiliated on live TV? No, he just made the nation respect him even more. Military veteran challenges Tua, But what happens next stuns America. The reactions poured in from all sides. Athletes, coaches, and military veterans praised the moment. One former Navy SEAL tweeted, "True leadership is not about power. It is about humility. Tua just showed the world what real class looks like." A well-known sports analyst wrote, "Tua had every reason to be defensive, to argue, but he didn't. He chose respect, and that's why this moment will be remembered forever." Even people who were not fans of the Miami Dolphins admitted, "I never cared much about Tua, but after this, I have nothing but respect for him." Meanwhile, the military veteran at the center of it all? He kept his promise. He took the signed jersey and set up a charity auction. Within days, it had raised over $250,000 for wounded veterans. Tua, never one to seek attention for his good deeds, quietly matched the donation. No announcement, no press release, just action. The story was covered on national news, and clips of Tua's response played on sports networks, morning shows, and even political talk shows. But Tua? He never spoke about it again. He didn't need to. Because this was no longer just a viral moment. It was a lesson in humility, leadership, and respect. And the entire nation? They were paying attention. Tua Tagovailoa never argued. He never defended himself. He let his actions speak louder than words. The veteran had come to challenge him, but in the end, he walked away with nothing but respect. Some people let their egos take over. Others choose humility. Tua? He chose the path of true leadership. What do you think? Did Tua handle this situation the best way possible? Comment below. Like, share, and subscribe for more powerful NFL stories.